Attendance enabled, guys. We'll wait for a couple more minutes. Attendance is on, by the way. So this should be the first class, right, of the day. Still, maybe people are still sleepy. Okay, I am also sleepy, but uh, what can we do? Anyhow, so how many do we have now? 33 only. Mm, okay, one more minute. Let us wait. Okay, I don't think the attendance is really improving at the rate that I was expecting to. So I guess we should start. Uh, okay, so the topic that we are going to cover today is called as overriding. So if you remember, there were three types of polymorphism that we discussed. The first one was where we discussed how the same type of pointer can point to different types of objects, and how we can use this to our advantage for certain cases, right? The typical example that I gave was, let us say you are supposed to build some kind of a behavior, you are supposed to write some kind of a function where uh, the only requirement that you have from the parameter is that it has certain properties which are, let us say, associated with a class that is higher in the hierarchy, in the inheritance hierarchy. So in that case, you can make the parameter type to be a pointer to a base class, a class that is significantly higher in the actual hierarchy, and then you can keep on passing um pointers to objects of derived types. So in this case, in such a case, you don't have to create a different method for different classes that you have. As long as the methods only require certain fields which are also present in a base class, you can simply make the type, the pointer to object type of the base class, and then keep on passing pointers to objects of the derived classes. So this was what we saw yesterday. This was basically the idea of what is polymorphism, and we saw how polymorphism can be achieved using these pointers. So there were two other ways of polymorphism that was mentioned in the slides yesterday. You would have, if you would have paid attention. So that was overloading and overriding. Okay. So today I am going to touch upon overriding. You guys have already heard this term quite a lot already, right? I mean, we've talked about overriding during our discussions for something else, right? Especially during these discussions on inheritance. We have talked about overriding, but let us have a look at overriding a little formally today. That what exactly is overriding? What exactly is it expected from you to override a function? So let's start from that part. Okay. So the first thing that we'll visit when we go back and again, before going back to overriding and knowing what exactly is overriding, this is specific to C++. In C++, we have discussed what are virtual functions, right? So what exactly were the virtual functions? A virtual function basically represents a behavior of a class which is open to extension or modification. That is what we had known in the previous lectures, right? I mean, the one where we discussed virtual functions, friend functions, all those things. So we came to know that a virtual function is a function which may or may not be, right, which may or may not be redefined in some derived class. That was the idea of making a function as virtual. Also remember that if you make a particular function, if you just give the function's declaration but do not provide its definition, then the function becomes pure virtual function. So pure virtual functions also we've had a look at, right? I mean, pure virtual functions are basically virtual functions, but if you have even one pure virtual function in your class becomes abstract, so you cannot create an instance of that class. So we are not really going to go into details of what virtual functions are, but I'll just show you how virtual functions and overriding are related to each other, right? So basically in C++, declaring a function as virtual is kind of the what can I say? It's the prerequisite in some ways for overriding that function, right? So let us have a look at all these things. So as I said, whenever you are going to redefine a particular function in the derived class, there can be two types of changes that you would probably do, right? The first one is modification. So essentially, you provide a completely new definition for this function. Okay, whatever was there in the base class, you really don't need that at all, and you provide a completely new definition in the derived class. The other way is a kind of extension, right? So you already have the logic associated with this function that is there in the base class, but now you want to add something more to it, right? I mean, you want to, for example, add some logic before and after that, or and or after this base class logic. So in this way, it is basically a kind of extension of the behavior of the base class behavior, right? So you are just, as a derived class, you are making it more specialized. That is the idea. Again, please keep this in mind that this modification and extension, they are all logical things. Okay, it's not like a C++ compiler doesn't care whether it is extension, whether it is modification. It is from the perspective of designing. So whenever you are designing a derived class, try to see if it is possible for you to extend the behavior. Or extension is usually better because it keeps the sanctity of your inheritance hierarchy. If you are completely changing the definition to something new, I'm not saying it's wrong. In certain cases you will do that, but keep in mind that the way you understand, the semantics of their relationship can also be altered. Okay, so keep this in mind, that whenever you are overriding a particular function, see if it is possible for you to take help, or make use of the super class or the base class definition. If you are able to do that, in some ways you are just extending the behavior, but you are certainly free to write your own new definition for any function. So in C++, declaring a method as virtual is essentially a kind of signal to the implementation that this method may have multiple definitions lying around. Okay, so the base class may have one definition. The derived classes might have their own definitions. As I said, the term is might. So as long as it is not pure virtual function, the term is might. If it is a pure virtual function, then it becomes mandatory for any non-abstract derived class to provide a definition. Okay. So this information, by declaring a particular method as virtual, this information is useful for exhibiting polymorphism. I'll show you how polymorphism kicks in here again. But if you want to override a function in C++, that is the first thing you should do. In the base class, declare it as virtual. So now we can now have a look at the actual concept of overriding, right? So the process of providing a new definition for a virtual method from a base class is called overriding. So again, this definition is kind of tailored to C++. Okay. this may or may not be true in all the programming languages, all object-oriented programming languages. But yeah, this is a way to understand it. That basically you flag a particular method as virtual. This gives an idea to the implementation that this method might have a different definition in the derived class. And if you do provide this definition, then it is called overriding. It is not necessary that you do that, okay? But if you do, then it is called as overriding. So the new definition, as I said, can be completely different, or it may use the definition from the base class. So something like this. Again, this is just a logical way to think about overriding. Okay, the compiler doesn't care. The compiler will only see a new, even um, if you provide a new definition like this in the derived class, the compiler really doesn't care what exactly is written in here. Okay, it's more of a, as I said, it's a design guideline that whenever you decided that a particular function should be virtual and that I'm going to override this in some derived class, you should think from the perspective of design, that what is it that I want to do here, right? Is it just that I want to extend the behavior, I want to extend the definition in the base class, or I want to provide a completely new definition? So like these are two templates usually that you will use. Okay, so one is where you provide a completely new definition, everything from scratch. The other way is something like this: you usually write some logic here, then you call the base class version. Okay, so this is allowed, by the way. If you want to still access the previous version of this particular method, you can do that using the scope resolution operator. And this is not just true for one level hierarchy, it is true for multiple level hierarchies. So basically, let us say if base class was also overriding this function from some, so there is probably what can I say, there is a grandparent for the base class, right? I mean, so it is inheriting from some other class, and then even here it has been overridden. So you have access to all the implementations in the hierarchy. Okay, you can access the grandparent version or grandparents version as well. So all these things are allowed, and the only thing you will need is the scope resolution operator and the name of the class whose definition you want to invoke. So this is the overall idea of overriding. This is an example. So this start playing and stop playing methods, okay, they were there in our toy examples. So I had actually declared start playing as virtual. Okay, so why? Because some class might want to provide a different definition for it. That was the idea. It is not necessary because it is not a pure virtual function, but yeah, it is possible to do that. So you can see that in this case, in the battery operated toy class, I provided a completely new definition, right? This is a completely new definition for the start playing method. And in this plain toy class, when I override this method start playing, here I've just added one cout statement, and then I'm just calling these implementations of the base classes. Okay, so flying toy and battery operated toy are both the base classes for plain toy. So I'm simply calling their definition, their version. Okay, and then I'm even calling the version from the grandparent. So toy is basically the grandparent of plain toy. Okay, it is the parent of battery operated toy. So I'm also calling the version from the grandparent. So this is an example of, let us say, the extension of the behavior. So I wanted something else to be added to the behavior of my base classes. So in this case, what I am doing is I just write something here or something here, and then I have the option of composing a new definition from the older definitions. So if I am doing this, then it is in some ways an extension of my existing behavior. And if I do something like this, it is in some ways a modification of the behavior. And as I said, all these things are really, the compiler doesn't care. The compiler doesn't care whether you are extending or modifying. This is more of a design thing, that that you should actually think about overriding from this perspective, that if it is possible to extend a particular method's definition, then it is good. As I said, good as in it gives you the same idea as the ideas that we have been covering till now about inheritance, that any class that is at the lower levels of this inheritance hierarchy is basically a specialized version of the classes that are higher in the hierarchy. So if you extend the behavior, it is kind of logical. But as I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Um, it can also be a kind of new definition from the scratch. Compiler doesn't care. Okay. Any questions till here and here? If you have a doubt, please ask. How many people have come up? 47. Okay. The attendance from CSAI batch has gone down significantly. Okay, any questions? So logically, do you understand the difference between modification and extension? You understand the logical difference at the implementation level, at C++ level. There is no difference. Okay, as soon as you provide a definition in the derived class, it is considered as overriding. Okay, the compiler doesn't care what do you write within the method. But logically, do you extend the concept that that modification means you are going to provide a completely new definition for this method in the derived class, and extension here really means that you are going to use the existing definition of that function, existing definitions of the function, and create a new definition. That is the idea. Any queries? And I hope people understand this code. This syntax. I think we have already seen the scope resolution operator at many places. So I think this should not be confusing. No questions? No queries? Okay, so there's one more concept that you need to know, and that is kind of specific, I would say, to C++. The reason you should know this concept is because people often have a lot of confusions related to this. So in C++, there is a similar concept, but it is not the same, and it is known as name hiding. Okay, so name hiding and overriding, many a times people actually feel that they are exactly the same thing, but they are not the same thing. Okay, they are two different concepts, they are two different things. So what exactly happens is something like this. Let us say you redefine a method in a derived class, but this method was not flagged as virtual in the base class. Okay, so the first thing is, are you allowed to do that? The answer is yes. So if you have a class, if you have a function, let us say, which was declared in the base class, it has some name func, for example. You can also have a same function in some derived class as well. So you can also have a function called func, a method called func in the derived class. So it might seem to you that this is an example of overriding, that it is the same method in the base class. I am defining the same method in the derived class. So this looks, very similar to what is overriding, but it is not overriding. That is what you have to understand. This is the case of name hiding. Okay, so what happens is something like this. The definition of the base class now simply becomes hidden. Okay, so do you remember the concept of scopes, that whenever you create a set of blocks, whenever you create a block and you create a variable within this block, if there is a variable of the same name in the outside scope, the containing scope, that variable becomes hidden. Okay, I think some of you might even discussed the scope resolution operator when we were studying scope in C, right, in ITP. Some of you made a made a comment that in C++ it is possible to access the global version of this variable using the scope resolution operator, if you remember, right? So why did we discuss it? Because it is possible to hide a particular variable which is in a larger or enclosing scope by simply creating another variable of the same name in the local scope. So whenever you will try to assign a value or access a value by using the name of that variable, it will be the local variable and not the one that is outside, that is accessed. So in some ways, name hiding, in fact, it is exactly the same thing that happens with name hiding, that you don't really replace the definition of the base class, you just hide it. Okay, so there's another definition which is there and you simply hide it. That is the idea. And if you want to see what is the difference between overriding and name hiding, I'll show you an example in a little while. But keep this in mind that they are not the same thing. Whenever you want to override a method, the proper thing to do is go and declare this method as virtual in the base class. Okay, basically you only have to do it once, in the actual base class where the function was first declared. You don't have to do it every time. So I know once you declare a function as virtual, it becomes virtual in all the classes below in the hierarchy. But if you want to override the function, that is what you should do. And if you the reason you should do it is if you actually do if you want to exploit the polymorphism features, I'll show you an example right now. Then only the virtual functions are treated as polymorphic functions. The functions for which, the methods for which you are doing name hiding, they are really not polymorphic in nature. So let us have a look at this. Okay, I have a base class and it has two methods. One is non-virtual method and I have not put the virtual keyword here. The second one is a virtual method and I have put a virtual keyword here, right? And then for these two methods I have this, and this is the base class, so I have these definitions for these two methods. Just a cout statement, it simply prints that this is the base version of the non-virtual method and this is the base version of the virtual method. Now I create a derived class and this one inherits from the base class. Now here also, by the way, please keep this in mind that even when you are trying to override a function from the base class, you still need to provide a declaration for it. Okay, so this might seem slightly slightly anticlimactic that at this level, when you just look at the declarations in class derived, there is really no way to tell if these are actually overridden methods or these are the methods that are being added by the class derived, right? Because you simply cannot differentiate between a new method and an overridden method. So this is kind of anticlimactic, but yeah, this is required. Even if you want to override a method in the derived class, the declaration is still a must. So I must put declarations for both these methods here, and then I provide some definition for both these. The definition is again simply printing that this is the derived class version. So now what do we have here? We have two methods. One is non-virtual, the second one is virtual, and in some ways we are providing new definitions for both these in the derived class. Okay, now what I am telling you is, while this one is name hiding, this one is overriding. Okay, now if you want to see how these two behave differently, we have to go back to the world of pointers again. So let us say I have two objects. One is from the base class B, one is from the derived class D, and I also have two pointers. One is your base class pointer and the other one is the derived class pointer. Now first we try to access uh, these methods via the objects directly, right? So what I mean is, you invoke these methods like this: b dot non-virtual method, b dot virtual method, and d dot non-virtual method, and d dot virtual method. What will be the output? This will be the output. Invoking b dot non-virtual method, base non-virtual, b dot virtual method, base virtual, and similarly d dot non-virtual, derived, d dot virtual, derived. Okay, so this is expected, right? That I created an object of these classes, and then I simply called on the methods. So at this point of time, you might feel, okay, there is really no difference between virtual and non-virtual methods, right? Because when I use this object of type of the derived type, and I call either the non-virtual method or the virtual method, it is the new definition that is being invoked, right? So at this point of time, you might feel it doesn't care. You really don't care whether you use name hiding or virtual or overriding, but you will care the moment you start accessing these methods in the same fashion as we saw yesterday, right? So now you assign the address of this derived type to the base pointer, right? This is similar to the toy case, the put toy to sale case that we saw yesterday, right? So the moment you start using a base class pointer, you will start understanding the difference between overriding and name hiding. So I'm doing all the same things again. Now this is the derived class pointer, this is the base class pointer, and you are again calling those four functions, okay, using these two pointers. Now if you check the output, this is when you are trying to access the methods using the base class pointer. So you can see for the non virtual function, the non virtual method, whenever you invoked bp arrow non virtual method, the method that is invoked is the non virtual function from the base class. Whereas when you do bp arrow virtual method, the method that is invoked is from the derived class. Okay, this particular line is the difference between overriding and name hiding. Why? Because if the function has been overridden, it doesn't matter the kind of pointer you are using to access it. Okay, at the runtime, the implementation will be able to differentiate between the types of objects that are there. So the implementation was able to see that this is actually the object here is of type derived class. So I should invoke the definition that has been provided in the derived class. It is not true for a non-virtual method. For a non-virtual method, the base class definition was invoked, okay, because the pointer was of type base type. But for virtual function, even though the pointer was of type base type, the definition that was invoked was the derived class definition. Okay, so this is the difference between name hiding and overriding. So if you want to use the polymorphic features, the example of polymorphism that we saw yesterday, if you want to make use of it, if you want to take advantage of it, then you should always declare the functions, the methods that you want to override as virtual. In some cases when you are not going to use polymorphism, then of course name hiding and overriding is kind of the same thing. It is not, as I said, conceptually they are two different concepts, but you can understand the difference here, that in the case where you are overriding the method, you in some way tell the implementation in advance that irrespective of the kind of pointer I use to invoke the method, please at the runtime check what is the actual object type. If the object type is the base type, invoke the base class definition. If the object is of derived type, invoke the derived class definition. I know this is a bit confusing, but please try to understand this. If you have any questions, I can go over it again. So is this part clear? What is the difference between overriding and name hiding? Is this part clear? Questions on this part? Is it clear? Or did it not go through at all?
Sir,
Go ahead.
sir, can you once again repeat the objects, the pointer and objects part?
Okay. So this part, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so this part is clear, right? I mean, all I'm doing is I'm creating an object of both types, base as well as derived, and then I'm simply calling these methods. Okay, base object dot non-virtual method and base object dot virtual method. Similarly, derived object dot non-virtual method and derived object dot virtual method. So the output here is pretty much as per expectations, right? Um, when you call the non-virtual method on base class, it is that method whose definition is invoked, and when you call the virtual method on the base class, that same method is invoked, right? Similarly for derived class. So here the expected method is being invoked. Now the things change when you do it using pointers. Okay, if you remember, how did it change? In the example that we saw yesterday, what were we really doing? I said that if you create an object of, let us say, a derived type, but use a pointer of a base type to point to it, that is perfectly legal. However, the only methods and the only fields that are accessible to you via the base class pointer are those that were defined in the base class. Anything that was added in the derived class, that is out of reach for you if you are using the base class pointer. So here what is happening? These two methods, non-virtual method and virtual method, they were both present in the base class. So if you try to make a call like this, BP arrow non-virtual method, BP arrow virtual method, it is legal, right? Because both these methods were there, they were declared in the base class. So it is perfectly fine to do this. But if you run this code, okay, the actual definition for these two methods which is invoked at the end of the day are going to be different. That is the idea. Why are they going to be different? Because for the non-virtual method, as I said, it is not like you've replaced the base class definition with a new definition. You just hid it, right? It was just not directly accessible via the dot operator, but the definition is still there, right? And when you try to access this particular definition via the base class pointer, the implementation will find out where that definition is, and that definition will be invoked. But in case of a virtual method, you are not really hiding the base class definition. You are in some ways saying that this is a new definition. Okay, this is a I'm trying to replace the base class definition with a new definition. So here at the runtime, whenever I'll try to call this method using the base class pointer, implementation will actually go and check what is the correct implementation for this method, and this will not be the one from base class. This will be the new overridden definition, and this is what is happening here in this output, that for the non-virtual method, the definition that gets invoked via the base class pointer is the definition in the base class. Whereas for the virtual method, the definition that gets invoked via the base class pointer is the derived class definition. That is the difference. Okay, actually this is kind of straightforward. But this line, these two lines are going to show you the difference between name hiding and overriding. So this is a case of name hiding. You just hid the definition, but it is still there. And this is the case of overriding. You have basically replaced the definition with a new definition. Okay, any questions, any queries? So the gist of the discussion is that whenever you want to do overriding, please make sure that the function has been flagged as virtual. Okay, this is the actual true way of overriding. If you redefine a function in the derived class and that class is not virtual, you are not really overriding, but you are simply doing name hiding. In many cases, okay, in many cases, you really don't care, right? As I said, if you are not using pointers, if you are simply using the object dot method name notation, then you cannot differentiate. Okay, it is exactly the same. You'll the new definition provided in the derived class will be invoked whenever you do derived class dot of method name. So you might feel that, yeah, I have overridden the definition from superclass, but it is not really overriding. You have just hidden the definition. But the moment you start using pointers, you'll come to know the difference. Any questions on this? Overriding is a very important concept. Again, not just in C++, but when you write code in other object-oriented programming languages, overriding is a very common thing that we do. So please be absolutely clear, absolutely thorough with the concept of overriding. Keep this in mind that overriding is also known as runtime polymorphism. Okay, what is runtime polymorphism? The actual definition that gets invoked via this base class pointer is decided by the type of object that it is currently pointing to. Okay, so it is possible that the BP pointer might point to an object of type base class later, right? So in that case, the definition that will be invoked will be the base class definition. But if I change it, if I make BP point to a derived class object, the definition that is invoked is the derived class definition. Okay, so this is the difference. That is why it is also known as runtime polymorphism. Okay, because the actual definition that gets decided to be invoked is checked at the runtime. And it is, again, as I said, it is exactly the same in other languages as well. So for example, we do it in Java, it happens in the exact same fashion. At the runtime, decides which definition is supposed to be invoked at this point of time. Okay, any questions? So yeah, I mean, I actually prepare for much shorter period, thinking that there will be discussions, but because there are no discussions, we end up the lectures 10, 50 minutes early these days. So if you have no questions, we can break. By the way, please put your attendance if you haven't put it already. It becomes very difficult for me to mark it manually later. So in case you have not marked your attendance, please do it now. And uh, if you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, we will break. And please keep on, on the. Please keep working on the project part. By this weekend, you are supposed to be ready with your project title and the group members. So please, this is something that you have to do in the background. I'm not going to tell you every time. Uh, so no questions. Please put the attendance before I'll keep it open for maybe a couple more minutes. So if you haven't put your attendance till now, please put it now. Okay, thank you guys.